do
Oh, we're
call.
not. Oh, yeah, we are.
Now we're live.
Now we're live.
Yes. And yes, they call Josh Dr. Doom.
Yeah. Speaking of Dr. Doom, did you guys watch Saturday Night Live with?
I was just about to say, did you see Mike Myers come back and do a reprise of Dr. Evil?
That was hilarious.
That was beautiful.
No, but I did watch one of the worst Christmas movies ever made, The Santa Claus 3. Okay, so now remember, the Santa Claus 1 was just, with Tim Allen when he becomes Santa Claus, right? That's okay. I mean, it is just what it is, right? 2 is just horrible. 3 makes no sense whatsoever. Like 3 is completely like, how the hell?
Well, like 1 made sense.
Planet? And what planet did they think about doing a triquel or whatever they call it? I mean, it's like, and in this one, it's like there's a counter plot with Martin Short as Jack Frost. It's like it's absolutely where people are going to die. Like,
well, I was gonna ask this because I mean, the traditional "It's a Wonderful Life" or the Christmas Story.
Yeah.
I mean, what your favorite Christmas movies? I have to say, one of my favorites is the Bill Murray Scrooged. I thought that was brilliant.
That's a good one. That's a good one. I mean, I'm not a big fan. You know what? I'm not a fan of Christmas Story, which they play constantly. I don't know. I used to be a fan. I like the Wonder Years a lot, which sprung from it, but I didn't. I don't know.
A Christmas Story is a good film, but it doesn't leave you warm and fuzzy like Christmas.
It doesn't.
No, I would agree with that. Yeah, Love Actually, as we've talked about many times, is one of my favorites. But an underrated one is Christmas with the Cranks, I think.
That was on last night, and and my son wanted to watch the Santa Claus 3 instead, so we missed it.
Honestly, the funny thing is, Christmas Vacation was the third of the vacation movies, and it's weird that a third movie was probably the best of the 3. I thought that was.
You know who the son was in Christmas Vacation? Okay, what's his name? Russ, right? His name is Russ, but he's not the same Russ in the different vacations. It's not the same guy.
Right. No, Anthony Michael Hall was the Russ in the first one.
Right. The Russ in Christmas Vacation is the guy from Big Bang Theory, the nerdy guy who goes out with a blonde girl at Big Bang Theory. It's the same person.
Okay.
From Big Bang, which character in Big Bang?
What's his name? Oh, gosh.
I know who you're talking about. I can't think of his name.
The guy who goes out with the blonde.
You know what? I think you're mixing the two guys up because isn't that what's his name?
Hold on.
Oh,
I never remember his name.
Okay, while you're thinking about that, I'll cover
Thinking
with
about it with my hands.
Can I bring something up? Don't tell anybody this because it was kind of embarrassing.
We're live right now.
We're live, Josh.
7,500 people watching us right now. Don't tell anyone.
I'm going to tell you guys this. It was embarrassing to me as a kid. I mean, I loved A Christmas Story, but as a child, I looked exactly like Ralphie. So my whole life, I had people telling me you're going to shoot your eye out, and I'm going to prove you right now how much I look like Ralphie. It's very scary.
I can see you looking like Ralphie. All right, let's say that looks like Wayne Gretzky, but that's okay. Oh, there's Ralphie.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Nice picture.
So my whole life, I was called Ralphie, or I had teachers that told me, "Don't shoot your eye out, kid." Like growing up, my whole life.
Okay. One last thing.
Yeah.
Do you consider? Because I do. Do you consider a movie like Die Hard a Christmas movie?
No.
Kinda. It was around Christmas.
It's set during Christmas. It's not.
The Die Hard movies are underrated as well.
Yeah.
Especially the first 2.
All right, so this is Johnny Galecki, okay?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay, so Johnny Galecki, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, he is no way is he, but then if you look at Christmas Vacation, it's him. It cracks me up. So that is him from Christmas Vacation. He's Russ from Christmas Vacation. How crazy is that?
And he was on Roseanne. Like he was on Roseanne for a few years, wasn't he?
He was on Roseanne, but like as a kid, he looks nothing. Here's Christmas Vacation right here, Rusty, right? So he's played Rusty as Christmas Vacation. Here's the Christmas Vacation movie. Let's see if there's a photo in here we can see with him in it.
7.5? Is that the rating they gave that movie? Wow.
the good scene in Christmas Vacation, the heartwarming scene in Christmas Vacation is, but that he is Rusty in that movie, and there's only one point. I was watching it with my daughter. There's only one point in that movie where you're like, wait a second, that is him, but like, they're just for a split second because he's so young.
Wow.
The moment in Christmas Vacation that is really funny is when he locks himself in the attic. That to me is my favorite part of that movie. When he starts looking at the old movies, he's having a heartwarming feeling, and then immediately he falls through the floor when his wife comes home. But that. Yes, and the whole Christmas light thing with them turning the light off and on in the house, that was hilarious, thinking that something was going on. That was a funny moment. Of course, setting up the Christmas lights, and he thinks he's got it right, but there's just somebody turning a switch on and off in the house, keeps turning the lights on and off. So that would be me. That would be me completely. that is definitely. What was the ring is going really well. We should have some really good pictures tomorrow. I think it could be done tonight. That's our goal. So.
What's our schedule for this week? Because I will have trouble on Christmas Eve.
Yeah, we're not gonna do Christmas Eve. No. Okay. We're gonna do tomorrow at 1 o'clock, and maybe also another show at 2 if you can do it. I want to do a year review, but we can figure that out later.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so let's get going here, and we will begin the show. So it's the classic Mike, Kevin, Josh order today.
Well, Josh is on the phone, so we'll just say I'll just say.
Okay, here we go. You got it. It's the 22nd of December. Why do I not? I just said it in the other show. All right. I just don't trust myself. I can't imagine why. All right, here we go.
just cut to Josh when it's time.
I will. Hey, Hockey World. It's Monday, December 22nd, 2014.
I'm Michael Agello.
I'm Kevin Allen of USA Today Sports.
I'm Josh Rimmer.
And I'm Eklund from HockeyBuzz.com, and you're watching the Hockey Buzzcast on HockeyBuzz.com, and I said HockeyBuzz.com 5 times in the last 30 seconds. Anyway.
You get paid every time you say HockeyBuzz.com?
I do not. I do not even get paid when I don't say HockeyBuzz.com. But anyway, let's move forward. So, let's start here, Mike. I mean, the Maple Leafs fell apart this weekend. We got to start there. Of course, they faced that juggernaut called the Flyers on Saturday night, and the Flyers just went through them like a hot butter through a knife or whatever that expression is. But yeah,
a hot knife through butter.
Yeah,
I like that.
Hot butter through a knife.
Hot butter through knife.
Hot butter does go right through a knife as well as the knife goes through hot butter. By the way, just if you ever have hot butter, just take it, it goes right through a knife. Anyway, continue, Mike.
The Maple Leafs had won 6 games in a row, 10-1-1 in their last 12, and at that point, fans in Toronto were expecting impending doom because that's what this team does. I mean, not to expect the team to continue at that pace, but going into Thursday playing the worst team in the league in the Carolina Hurricanes, everybody was saying trap game, and they didn't show up in a 4-1 loss, and then on Saturday they jump out to a 2-0 lead against the Flyers, a team that is challenged defensively with Ray Emery in goal, with Steve Mason out with an injury, and their top line goes out in the next 3 minutes and gives away the 2-goal lead. And essentially at that point, it was on. It was a wild, wide open first period, 3-3 at the end of one. And Claude Giroux took complete advantage of the head-to-head matchup against Nazem Kadri, scored 2 goals and 2 assists. The Maple Leafs were just terrible defensively. It was just not one player. It wasn't one line. It was the entire team.
They look slow, Mike. They look very slow, which is not like the Maple Leafs in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and that's one of the criticisms that Randy Carlyle has for this team is that the fact that they are an above-average skating team, but when they are not playing well, they're caught flat-footed. Jake Gardiner didn't play in the game on Saturday, but he was terrible in Carolina. And not to say I'm not singling him out because he's the responsible party, but I'm just saying. He was terrible in Carolina on Thursday and then came back last night against Chicago, played good in the first 2 periods, and then got caught flat-footed on Jonathan Taves' goal late in the third. That's their problem. They have players who are just not consistent in their effort, and this is going to continue up and down throughout the season with this current group.
Yeah, it is, and it's Kevin, you're smiling. What are your thoughts?
Well, this is really to be expected. I mean, the Maple Leafs are still a flawed team. Like, they were very impressive for all those games, and what I was really impressed with was their ability to play a different brand of hockey than we had seen from them early in the season. But the problem is it's still learned behavior, and that's second nature for them. Like, they have to really think about it to play a strong defensive game. And as Mike alluded to, if the effort isn't there, then they fail. And I think it's not. I think this really demonstrates, to me it does anyway, the fact that you can't blame Randy Carlyle for this, because when they play his system, they've shown they can be quite effective. Because they do have skating ability, they do have offensive depth, which they have not had previously. They have some areas of concern. I mean, they could use another top-notch center. They certainly could use defensive help, but they're certainly capable of playing a style that would make them competitive with the top teams in the league. But they can't seem to embrace it on a consistent basis. And these are NHL players, pro athletes, who should be able to show more consistency than they do.
Yeah, well, the issue. Go ahead, Mike.
The success seems to go to their head. I mean, they played very well, like as Kevin said, they played very well, very good two-way hockey early in this winning streak. And even Carlisle said near the end, when they were giving up 40-plus shots to Anaheim and getting dominated by the LA Kings and still winning, the mistakes and the failings of their game were starting to creep in. And he was forewarning, he says, if you keep playing like this, we're not going to win. And it was apparent over the weekend. I mean, they just did not win any puck battles. Gave up the puck continually, and played irresponsible defensively, and their goaltending was not there to save them. I mean, Bernier was average against Philadelphia. Reimer actually kept him in the game last night against Chicago, but they cannot continue to play that way if they want to make the playoffs. And, like I said, I think it's going to be a roller coaster this year. They now have 6 road games in a row prior to Christmas and through the new year, and at the end of that, we'll see where they stand.
Well, because of course, we have the juniors are coming in now, so to take over the arena, which is always a great event.
But the good news is, like, if you're a Leafs fan, and it's interesting that Mike said that they have been sort of waiting for something kind of bad to happen, just because that's what happens for Leafs Nation. And it's certainly a up and down slide where you're planning parades one day and then the team is just a disaster the next day. But what's interesting to me is anybody who watched them over that surge, you could certainly convince yourself that they could be one of the better teams in the East. Like, if they could play with that level of consistency, if they could play the way that Carlisle wants them to play, and again, I think it's hard for them. I think they have to really think about it. I mean, you're sort of asking them to change their spots. The leopard has to suddenly become a panther. So it's a struggle for them to do that, but they should be able to do it. I mean, there are many examples through sports history of teams that have just changed the way they played, and because of that have been successful. So, that's the encouraging aspect. If they can get them to sort of buy in, and how many times do we hear that expression? But it's still true. You got to buy in, and they do buy in for a short period of time, but they can't sustain it.
Well, the one discouraging thing about this current team is that against teams that are 500 or above, they have an excellent record. I think it's 14-4-2. With the losses this weekend to Carolina and Philadelphia, they have lost to Carolina, Philadelphia, the Sabres, Arizona, Colorado, New Jersey. They're losing to. They have an under 500 record against the bottom third.
Make me feel so happy, Mike, right now. Thanks so much for putting Philadelphia in that group. Yeah.
Well, I mean, they are. I mean, right now. I mean, they're.
Oh, I know they are. I'm just kidding.
But to me, that's an encouraging thing, and I say that because that's clearly a focus issue. When you're playing well against the top teams and not playing well against the bottom teams, then your issue is a focus issue. The level of play. You're capable of rising up and playing that, but you can't seem to maintain that and sustain it. And a focus issue, of all the things you can and can't fix, I mean, despite what the Sutter brothers believe, I don't care how hard you work, if you're trying to compete against, Malkin and Crosby, and you have two centers that are third liners playing in the first line role, you're not going to win that game. It's just not going to happen. I mean, you can work hard and you work hard, but 9 times out of 10, you're not going to do it. Even though the Sutters kind of believe you can always outwork your problems, but in this case, you've proven that you can compete, and now all you got to do is just rise up and provide the effort. And that's, of all the things you can't fix, that's one thing you can fix, and I think that's easier to fix than a lot of other problems.
Consistency is really the hardest thing in hockey. I mean, getting players to be able to be consistent on a regular basis and getting an entire team, of players who have a tough. I mean, you need certain players who are used to that level of consistency, and this is what this team doesn't have in my mind. There's no one on that team that played on another team. Well, with the exception of Clarkson, I guess you could say that Clarkson played on a team that was consistent in New Jersey. That they were relatively consistent all the time. They're a team that had the ability to do this, but that's the kind of player you need to make this work.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen the anything for hockey heaven, the Molson Canadian thing yet? This is really something. The story behind this is anything for hockey. Like 17 years ago, this guy Andrei Lanuchkin moved his family from Estonia to Canada to give his son Vitaly a chance to grow up playing hockey. And Molson Canadian built a rink on top of the world to give Vitaly the chance to say thanks. So let me show you this for a second. They built an arena way high up in the mountains, a hockey rink, not an arena, but a hockey rink. So let me go here and show you this. Here we go. So this is them flying up there. So they I mean, to say this is incredible and awe-inspiring is like an understatement in my mind. Maybe it's because I'm building a rink outside right now in the country of Pennsylvania, but I think that this is they find this spot and they build this little rink down in the mountains. It's just incredible. I mean, it's just like you can't imagine how cold it is there. But if you search, it's a really cool story. If you search for anything for hockey.
The question I have is, how are they going to fly in the Zamboni?
Yeah, really. I know. I don't know if you need a Zamboni up there. I don't think a Zamboni would even work up there. You know how Zambonis don't work if it's super cold? We've learned this at the Winter Classic. They don't do anything.
Yeah.
Here's my suggestion, though.
Yeah.
They run out of places to put the Winter Classic. Let's play there.
Wouldn't that be something?
Yeah. Let's put up some stands. We'll fly in some fans. We don't have to have a lot of fans. Maybe a couple thousand. And
what if you did it without fans? What if you just had the teams go up there and play and you taped it? And you showed it. Wouldn't it be something just to have like a game like that that's just like no one's allowed in there, except for of course the media. I mean, you get invited, Kevin. I wouldn't get there, but you would get there, and then we get a chance to actually. I don't know. I agree with you. Wouldn't this be something?
I've said like some of the areas that I would go to when the Winter Classic is done. I would go to Mystery, Alaska, if that place does exist.
Right.
And I would play a game there, and I would have some fans. I think you always want fans cheering, and just even if it's a small number. The other place I would go is like hard in the ski country where in the wintertime it snows 70% of the time. I don't know where that is. Is it Vail? Is it someplace in Colorado? And just build a rink into a mountainside where you got a really good chance of it snowing. And again, just invite 3,000 or 4,000 people and fit them all in and cram them in and play the game and make it a made-for-TV event. And charge $400 or $500 for those who want to come in and watch that game and make it a real spectacle. I mean, because everybody roots for snow. I bet that kind of game would draw the highest television ratings ever for a hockey game.
The NHL live at Red Rocks. There you go.
Yeah, just any place where you could you had a pretty good chance of snow. There's a lot of those ski resorts that in the winter they have a pretty high percentage.
Oh yeah, you're gonna get snow. Yeah, you put this up by Whistler or somewhere up there, you're gonna get snow. I mean, there's no question. And this would be phenomenal. I am really I don't know. I'm with you there. And I've heard before that they've talked about the rumor for next year's Winter Classic is back in Boston, right? I'd like to see, and I heard through the grapevine that they were going to do the next Winter Classic in a unique place, so like in a unique setting. So I don't know if it's been announced. I know it hasn't been announced, but I don't think it's going to be in Fenway Park. I have a feeling it's going to be somewhere else in Boston.
I bet you anything it'll be a Foxborough.
Yeah, that's what I'm guessing too.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that. And then, we're probably going to have outdoor games in, Minnesota and Denver, Colorado. So, and I think that'll be good. I mean, I understand why we haven't gone to Minnesota because, they really haven't, even though it's a great hockey environment, it's going to be successful, the team has not really had a national footprint. For whatever reason, they haven't been either skillful enough, and they don't have a persona that has captured the imagination of fans nationally. So they've been kind of waiting. But it's an improved team now, and they do have some offensive bite. So I think it's probably the time to do it. And I think it'll be fabulous in Denver. You're a mile up.
Yeah, that'd be something.
It'll be great. It'll be fun. And the fans in Denver are underrated in my opinion. They're pretty good hockey fans. So.
And I would think that probably the best combination for Minnesota, I would think it would have to be Chicago. That would be, and for Colorado, I mean, based on the weekend game, I'd say Detroit, Colorado again. I mean, I think that would be great.
Yeah, they could do Detroit, Colorado. I mean, Colorado, Colorado and Minnesota has become quite a rivalry in the last few years too. That's another one that's really picked up. But yeah, I would like that. I would like to see that. Now, I don't know if you guys saw this too, but Doc Emmerich has been named Sports Illustrated. Has gotten the Sports Illustrated Media Award for the Person of the Year. So,
wow.
Yeah, which is a big deal. So he's the Person of the Year, and I'm a big fan of Doc. Doc's always been very good to me, and I grew up going to a church right with Doc, and he went in Haddonfield, New Jersey there. So Doc's a really good guy, really classy character. Really, I don't think anyone doesn't like Doc Emmerich. If I was to go through.
Yeah, no,
I've always enjoyed his broadcasts, even going back to his days with the Devils. But in NBC, I mean, during the Stanley Cup Finals, if I have an opportunity to watch Hockey Night in Canada or watch NBC's broadcast, I'm watching Doc Emmerich. I mean, I think he brings a level of excitement to the game. He there's no doubting his knowledge, and his use of synonyms is top notch. So
his preparation is second to none.
Yeah.
I know that's a phrase that people use as just kind of throw around, but it's just amazing how he prepares for a hockey game. And we go back. Both of us did a tour of duty in Port Huron, Michigan. He was there before me, but that sort of was a cradle of broadcasters and hockey writers for years. There were several hockey writers that ended up covering NHL teams and broadcasters as well. So we've sort of bonded on a different level because of that. Both having known the people in Port Huron, Michigan, but just a great human being. His current quest is. And I think he's not quite close to the end of the line yet, but every day for 365 days he's writing a letter to someone in his life who's made an impact.
Handwriting the letter out.
That's right. And it's a great story. And I actually asked permission whether I could steal that idea because I thought it was so incredible.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
I have a friend Scoop Cooper, who's a friend of Doc's for years. Got his letter. I looked at it. I got to see it. And he already got his letter from Doc, and yeah, it's so amazing. I mean, just how he remembers things in this letter that Scoop said. I would never think that a person like Doc would remember these little moments from years and years and years ago that he remembers.
Yeah, I got a letter too, and it just made my day. So I made a little note card, and it was he's a special guy, and I love the way the phrasing he uses. When there's 100 seconds left in the game, he shuffleboards the puck out of the zone. He has so many different ways of phrasing the game, and it's the only time I never ever get caught up in debates with fans over things. I just think it's everybody has their own opinion, and if you want to dislike something I like, I don't really mind and don't really care. But it does bother me when I hear anybody criticize, how could you not like Mike Emmerich, whose call of the game is superb, who is a superb human being. There is nothing negative about anything about Doc. And so when someone says, "Oh, I don't like this or that," I'm happy to I don't do it, but I'm always half tempted to argue with them.
Oh, I agree. I've been there, and you know, it was in Philly. There was a little bit of criticism of Doc early on because he took over for Gene Hart, which was a tough thing to do. Like he came out of in Philadelphia when he first started as an announcer here, doing the play-by-play. It was after Gene Hart, who everybody in this area had known for 20 years, and everybody grew up with, and he was the epitome of Flyers announcer. And I remember people having issues, but I don't think anyone could have handled it classier than Doc handled it. He just absolutely transitioned it in a way that it didn't matter, that some people were were missing Gene or whatever. He just completely, and as he always does, was out-professional the situation basically, and just said, okay, and he just never had a bad word, never got into a fight with anyone, just kept it going. What's kind of cool in the article in Sports Illustrated is the guy who's writing, who writes a lot on the media, Richard Deitch. He writes, what struck me most about Emmerich during the playoffs was when he chose silence. He stopped talking for 1 minute and 50 seconds following his call of the Alec Martinez Stanley Cup winning goal for the Kings. Viewers heard crowds, horns blaring, Kings players whipping it up on the ice, and the winning goal announcement from the public address announcer. What they did not hear was Emmerich, which was perfect at the time, which is really interesting. I mean, that is the truth. I mean, when a team wins the Stanley Cup, how often do you hear, somebody has prepared, what they're going to say exactly when that team wins the Stanley Cup, and but Doc just going to silence after that, in that kind of game, which was so crazy, back and forth, could have went any which way. Here he is. He knew it was time to get silent, that's just awesome.
Yeah, no, and what's interesting about Doc is, I would say that he has an elegant kind of call of the game. He speaks to hockey as an art form, and yet, his rise to fame came at a time and in the minor leagues when it was a fighters, league. The IHL in those days. Like I bet Mike Emery called his share of brawls in the early days in the IHL. So he grew up. He cut his teeth in the rough and tumble era of hockey, and I think it got him to the point where now he can describe the game. I'm sure that he enjoys more.
And I think he likes fighting more than he lets on. I mean, I think he does, and he's always been. I mean, I remember having talked to my friend Scoop Cooper about him, who really knows him and communicates with him almost every day. He just says, yeah, Doc really likes the fighting. He won't talk as much as he likes it, but he does like it, and But like you say, I mean, you've been around him. That's the other kind of guy you wouldn't expect to like fighting. He seems too classy for it. It seems just like. But he doesn't mind it. I think he gets what it means to the game and everything like that. Anyway, I thought that was really worth mentioning today because Doc's been so close to so many different people who are out there. A lot of people know that for sure. I want to talk a little bit about Rob Zepp for a second. In Philadelphia, the oldest goalie to get an NHL win in his debut at 33, and Rob's a great story, and he won last night in what was a really exciting game against the Winnipeg Jets. For anyone who managed to stay up to watch the end of it, the Flyers they were down 3-1 going into the third and came back and tied it and won it in 10 seconds into overtime. And there was a great battle last night's game between Dustin Byfuglien and the entire Flyers organization. Essentially, it was. And literally, I mean that from top to bottom. Dustin Byfuglien scores a goal early on, which is an amazing goal, and throws, I think, at least 7 to 10 hits. A couple that looked very questionably close to legal or not against Claude Giroux that didn't get called. Is mouthing off at the Flyers bench, gets a bunch of different, makes a couple mistakes, and ends up getting just totally stripped by Claude Giroux with 10 seconds into the overtime and giving up the game-winning goal. So he ends up being a -2 after blocking, I think, 10 shots and all these different things. He was really he had a phenomenal game and was a force, just an absolute force, as if he was auditioning for this Flyers team in a lot of ways.
I was about to say, I guess we should escalate those Byfuglien to Philadelphia rumors, Zach.
Well, that's the funny thing is Wayne Fish afterwards tweets out, well, I guess Eklund will stop with the Byfuglien to Flyers rumors now, because as the game ends and Byfuglien's skating off the ice in Winnipeg, the coaches have to walk across the ice. The assistant coach, the head assistant. So Craig Berube and Byfuglien come face to face with each other, and Berube has a few words, and Byfuglien rears up like he's gonna take on Berube, and Berube just keeps walking away. So yeah, it was literally the entire organization last night that almost got it. But and as much as Wayne, I know what Wayne's trying to say here. all I have to say is Nick Fotiu, Wayne. That's all I have to say. So Nick Fotiu was public enemy number 1 in Philadelphia for how many years, and not nearly the player that Bufflin is, and was a Flyer at some point. So I think as much as they disliked what he did last night, if he was wearing the orange and black, they would be all about that.
Chris Chelios said on the television interview, "I will never, ever, ever, ever play for the Detroit Red Wings." And a month later, he started his decade with the Red Wing organization.
Right. Yeah. There you go. But Rob Zepp is what I meant to talk about here. I forgot about. But Rob Zepp was he's a great story. He played in the ECHL. He's played at the AHL. He went over to Europe and played in Finland. Then for the last 6 years, I think he was the goalie for the German for the team in Berlin, the Polar Bear team, the same team that Claude Giroux and Danny Briere played for during the lockout, where they played with Rob Zepp, where Rob Zepp became a Hockey Buzz fan, and so he's really a big like I said fan, and really just a super good guy, and it was exciting to see a guy who's done such. Gone such a long way and played in so many leagues actually, win an NHL game last night. It was just a good story. I mean, I don't know how many games he's going to play. I don't think he's going to become a superstar or anything like that. But, for now, with all the mystery that is Mason's injury, who knows what's happening.
Well, I mean, have we heard anything more on that, Ak? I mean, I know that they said that was supposed to come out on Monday, and
all they're saying is it doesn't appear to be a lengthy injury, but they're really not. That's the only thing we've gotten out of it so far. So it's been very much shrouded in mystery type injury. So yeah, I don't know. That's something to watch. But here's actually this. I think somebody put this up. Someone sent me this just now. It's pretty funny. Here's Bufflin and Berube going at each other. Hold on, let me bring this up for you. Here we go. So you'll see it. I'll repeat. I think here's this Bufflin skating over. Yep. And there's Craig Berube, who is known to drop the gloves a couple times in his time.
And what he's saying to Berube is, are there condos in downtown Philly available?
Right. Was that good enough for you, basically? So, yeah. I mean, you can say all you want to about the goal he causes a goal or whatever, but he definitely he was a force in that game. I mean, he was all that you would want Dustin Bufflin to be. So. You take the good and the bad, right? It's one of those type of players. But yeah, for sure. So that was fun. So the players of the week this week are out, and I just lost them. Do you have them, Mike?
I know Kopitar was the first star of the week.
Kopitar, Voracek, and Marc-Andre Fleury. Yes. So this is good for Kopitar. Kopitar's been kind of having an off year so far to this point. Not for Kopitar standards, I guess. But
this just goes along with the usual LA Kings MO that they sort of mail it in the first half of the season and then wake up and make a run for the playoffs. I almost think it's strategic. Let's not waste our energy and our mojo early in the year when it really doesn't matter, and just turn it on in the second half and in the playoffs. And if it works for them, I mean, the thing is that they made a lot of noises this year about we want to have an 82-game season and win the Pacific Division, and and so far it hasn't really come to fruition. I mean, obviously the Voyanov situation has contributed to that and some injuries, but Kopitar is a great player, and he had a great week this week.
He only had 9 points in 3 games this week.
Yeah, no, that's terrible. Yeah, exactly. But I mean, and from what I've heard, the whole movement in the World Cup, proposal to have a all-star team for a lot of the players for the smaller countries is based on getting a guy like Kopitar in the World Cup, because Slovenia is never going to be in the World Cup by themselves, so they wanted to get these players from these smaller countries on one team. I can see that as a benefit. I just not to go on a World Cup tangent, but I just don't know whether making up a team, Team Europe or whatever, is something that works.
What do you think of that, Kevin? That idea?
I actually don't mind the world team. I don't like the young team.
Right.
To me, that seems far more contrived. Like the idea of linking together all the countries that don't have enough ability to compete on a competitive basis. Why not? It's just good hockey. I don't see them winning, but why not allow them a way to get in?
Right.
But the younger team, I just don't understand. There are teams out there that could be reasonably competitive. Just add another team, have a play-in to decide, whether it's going to be Kazakhstan or Austria or Germany or
I
whoever.
like that. I mean, I like that idea. I like the idea of the play-in tournaments for the Olympics. I don't think the NHL has to do what the Soviet Union did and put all these teams under one blanket. The former Soviet Union. Yeah, this is I agree. I would rather see a play-in myself. But that is a really interesting debate. We'll, I'm sure we'll get up to. To me, the most interesting star this week was Marc-Andre Fleury, though. 3-0 with a .99 goals against average and a .971 save percentage. Marc-Andre Fleury is having a career year, Kevin. Is he a Vezina candidate right now?
Oh, for sure. Oh, yeah, there's no doubt. And he has had a phenomenal year, and it's come at a time when most of us were writing him off. I mean, I'm guilty. I'm guilty of thinking this could have been his last season. And, he's had he's looked like a top goalie in the league. And I'm not sure he has ever looked like that, even when he won a championship. I mean, he's always been a good quality goalie, but would you ever have said that he was among the top 5, 6 goalies in the league? But he's playing like that now. I mean, he really is, and it's been, we've talked about it before. He's made adjustments in his style, and he's not the first goalie to do that later in his career. Chris Osgood did that, and there have been a few other goalies. I think Marty Brodeur made an adjustment late in his career. As you get older, to me, it's no different than a golfer, and you adjust your golf swing. You're still a premium player, but you adjust your golf swing to compensate for whatever's going on in your life, either an injury or a concession age and so forth. And I think he's made some adjustments in his style, and I think this new coach has helped him as well. I think he faces a lot fewer odd man breaks, and he's not hung out to dry as much. And given a good situation, a good environment, a really quality goalie can make the most of it, and that's what separates the good goalies from the top notch is how much they can take advantage of it. And Fleury's really taken advantage of it, and I think he's been as much a part of the Penguins' success this season as anybody on that team.
And what makes it even more impressive is the fact that he's doing this when this club has been riddled with injuries. I mean, how many injuries to key players have they had? And and also riddled with the mumps. We've had 2 or 3 players in the last week that are out because of the mumps. So Fleury, as we said, when the playoffs were going, Fleury played very well and was not at fault for their loss to the Rangers. I mean, he was one of the main reasons they got past Columbus in the first round last year, and now he signed that big deal, and he's playing very well for the Penguins. So I mean
he is. But I'll bring this up. Because to me, and I don't mean to be negative about this at all, but this is the one thing I'll say about Marc-Andre Fleury. If you remember when he came into the league, he struggled a little bit, and there was this whole thing about his contract that if he played 20-some games or whatever, he would get paid X amount of dollars, and there was a big debate. He was right at the 19-game point or whatever. It was really kind of a crazy clause that it shouldn't have been in his contract. It's probably, in my opinion, at the time, a mistake by his agent to put this in there because it kind of sold him down the river a little bit. But the second he got past that point, he played very well. The pressure was off, and he just played incredibly well. But in the beginning, he was very iffy as to whether they would keep him up or send him back or whatever it was because he had and. Then this year he was okay, but when he signed the contract, he got really good. I mean, he wasn't incredible in the beginning of the year, if I remember right. But when to the point he signed a contract on, I mean, he was good right before he signed the contract. There was a streak there where he had a couple shutouts, but very early on he was. And again, I think this is a Marc-Andre Fleury that we still have to see the playoffs for because I still want to see. It seems like lift the pressure away from him, and yes, he's a great goalie. Pressure back on him. I mean, and it seems like the contract really lifted the pressure off of him and that allowed him to play hockey and not worry about it. I think he's one of those guys who worries about things. It sort of feels like, at least from perspective.
Well, I think that's fair that he is a player that worries about things. But he was playing pretty well when he hadn't earned a contract too. This season. But I think it's fair to say, okay, what's he going to do in the postseason? But he did play well last postseason. I mean, the issues that we've all discussed were in before that. Now, he didn't win, but I didn't think he played any role in their loss. I mean, I guess you can always make a case that he should have stepped up and won it for them because they weren't at their best. But
Yeah.
I think he's been pretty impressive, this season, and it feels like it's a career, life-altering change for him. It doesn't seem like he's just hot. It feels like he's done some things that's going to make this part of it. And the expectations are so much different in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
It's not Montreal or Toronto where that's in a complete different sphere. But we've talked about it this season. The injuries this team went through last season, and the injuries and the illnesses they've had. Nobody talks about them. Like the Columbus Blue Jacket, the story of them is they're hurt. They got hurt. I mean, everybody has written a story about how horrible it was.
Yeah.
Nobody wrote last year that the Penguins lost 500 man games to injury. It's just because the expectations in that city are different, or even in Detroit. Columbus is sort of a new rising power, so when they get hurt, that's a story. But Fleury has dealt with those high expectations for most of his career. And the other thing, and we've brought this up before, he's very, very, very popular with teammates. And I bring that up all the time because I haven't met too many players who are as popular with their teammates as Fleury is.
Yeah. It is a great point, and the team plays around him, and they play for him. They do. They definitely do. Josh, what do you have?
Guys, as everyone knows, it is the giving season, and no one has given more than people that are in Pittsburgh, because we have another one. Downey, Sutter, and Greiss have all returned to Pittsburgh to be tested for the mumps. That's according to the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Wow.
3 more guys they suspect have the mumps, guys.
And Lee Stepniak has the mumps.
Yeah.
The mumps go on.
The giving season, like I said.
Yes,
it's not unexpected.
Wasn't Greiss tested already, guys?
He was, and it was negative, but so was Crosby.
Yeah.
There's a couple levels of testing on this. You do it with your local group, and then the CDC does a more advanced testing. So I don't know where that first group of tests were sent, but I'm sure this next group is going to the CDC. We'll have to see kind of what happens here. But I think it's kind of running through the Penguins, and they seem to be ground zero right now, and probably running through the Rangers. And it's just a matter of whether or not it's going to be past any other team. I don't think, and I'm really speaking without the advantage of a medical degree, but it doesn't appear that it's easy, as easy to contract it in competition. Possible and probable that it's happened, but not as easy as it is within your own dressing room where you're now. And the other thing too is that I keep seeing readers talk about this, how could this happen? And most players have their own water bottles and everything, but here's the way it works, and that is if on an everyday life practice you don't wash your hands every time you grab a doorknob. Now, that you can get a lot of germs from doorknobs, but we don't do it. But in the flu season, you think about it, or you do it. If everyone in your house has flu, then all of a sudden you're careful. I say is that everybody has their own water bottle, but you're playing in a game or a towel, and you get back to the bench, and your visor's all screwed up. You can't find your towel, you grab whatever's there. Or the same thing with water bottle. Now, I'm pretty sure the Penguins and the Rangers are all looking for their towels and their water bottles.
For sure.
It's not as if these safe practices were not in place. It's just people don't follow them, except when there's an issue. So no one's to blame here. It's not like the teams in the league are not. Everybody knows what to do. They just don't always do it. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
And you know what? The Florida Panthers should be concerned right now because Downey got into a dust-up with Eric Gudbranson on Saturday. It was a pretty long fight. And, who's to say that Gudbranson doesn't get infected if Downey does have the mumps? I mean, that's the way that it can be spread.
Well, that'll be fascinating, right? I mean, that if he does have, we'll know something is happening. That'll be a good clue.
Great quote from Mike Johnston today, guys. saying no fewer than 12 Penguins are injured or ill. I think I'm becoming a medical expert. That's what Mike Johnston said. I don't really want to be, but that's what I'm becoming.
Yeah. No, that's
Mike Johnston. Yeah.
That's the bottom line, right?
And did you guys? I know you guys are in the U.S., but did either of you hear about PJ Stock's comments at all on Hockey Night in Canada this weekend?
No, I did not.
He showed a video basically. I don't know if he was joking or serious, but he showed a video of Claude Giroux, I guess, kind of wiping his mouth and putting it on the referee's back, and he's saying, "See, that's Claude Giroux's giving mumps to everybody." And then they showed him also like wipe it on another player as well. So I don't know if he was making a joke.
He was wiping snot on the linesman. He was biting the jersey of another player. I mean, I made that point last week. It's like, I mean, not to say that that's not going to happen, but then you wonder how the flu or other things get transmitted from one player to another. I mean, it's not just if they're both staying in one room during road trips.
It's just how we do things in Philadelphia. Come on, it's not a big deal. Finally, one more before we go back to Josh. Is there anything else you have? This move by Nathan McKinnon. I guess you might have been at this game, Kevin. This is the shootout move here. This was pretty crazy. Nathan's had an off year, but the one thing about this move though that really kind of strikes me, is that this is. He actually comes to almost a complete stop. This is like one of these things that's extremely frustrating for a goalie. I mean, this is as close as you can come to a complete stop. The puck is moving forward maybe a couple inches, and you can see the goalie wants to poke check there right before he makes the shot because it's like the puck's that close, I'm going to poke check it away from you if you're moving it that slowly. But McKinnon, is such a freaking skilled player, just makes that look easy.
Well, people who love the shootout had to be overjoyed last night because there was Dallas and Edmonton went to a rather lengthy shootout, and Colorado and Detroit as well.
Yeah.
Eberle had a really nice goal in the shootout for Edmonton, but honestly, on the heels of the 20 some odd shot shootout from last week, I can't wait for this. I can't wait for the league to go to 3-on-3.
You're done with this.
I'm done with it. I mean, I've always not been a fan of it, and now seeing these list boring, lengthy shootouts, I want 3-on-3 so bad.
Yeah,
it'll be better though. The shootouts will become more interesting when we see fewer of them. When that's the issue. There are just too many of them, and I think like when the results of the AHL shows, I think it's 1 in 5. I hope I have that right, but most of those games the vast majority are getting resolved now in the overtime, but they still have some shootouts, and I think those shootouts, when that is embraced, those will become more interesting because we won't see them very often. I've seen some interesting shootouts, and I think we all have. And I still say the greatest tension I've ever felt as a spectator was at the Olympics and the Forsberg, shootout. I mean, it was just incredible, the pressure. Like you could just feel it. It was almost like it rose up off the ice into the stands. You could feel how much pressure that everybody was feeling as they took these. And the other thing I always bring up is, they decide the World Cup in soccer on shootouts, and that's a much bigger thing than our little game.
Kevin, were you at the Canada Czech Republic in '98?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean, to me, watching that live, I mean, there was so much consequence to that. That's what made it exciting. But the thing is, the thing that makes the shootout in regular season sort of just mundane is the fact that it's over 1 point. I mean, yes, the Ole Jokinen Philadelphia situation was, impactful because it was the last game and one team makes the playoffs and one team misses the playoffs. But the shootout between Colorado and Detroit, I mean, it's entertaining for a while, but it really doesn't have a lot of consequence.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. But I think that the same can be said about regular season games. But I actually think that they would benefit by actually going to more shooters. One of the issues that I have is when the first guy scores from one team, then the other guy misses, and then the next guy scores, and now it's 2, and then the guy misses, and it's over. we've gone 2 guys and the whole thing's done. Where the 5 seems to be the acceptable practice in the historical soccer World Cup. So why don't we go to 5, especially when we go down to where they don't happen very often.
I agree.
5 shooters would be more representative in my opinion.
And in the American Hockey League, I believe at 5. So I think the NHL is the only one who's at 3.
Right. But I think 5 would be
no sense. Which makes no sense because this is a chance to showcase your players too in the NHL. I mean, it really makes no sense not to put them out there and do this. Although I will still say 3-point games, way too many overtimes. Too many overtimes in general. We don't need all these shootouts and all these overtimes. Could be eliminated by just 3-point games for regulation wins. I'll throw that out there.
We're running out of time. I did want to talk a little bit about the San Jose Sharks because they seem to be almost a forgotten team. Like we really are discounting them. Simply because they didn't do anything in the offseason. We were all critical of Doug Wilson because he didn't do more. Some of us thought they should have got a goalie, and some of us thought they really should have gotten a defenseman to replace Dan Boyle, and they just should have shaken up their roster more. I mean, those were all the areas of concern.
Yeah.
But I remember saying at the time, but when you're all said and done, they're still going to have Couture, they're still going to have Marlowe and Thornton, Pavelski, and Brett Burns with that big shot. They're still going to have a good team. And, last 10 games, 9-1, big game against the Anaheim Ducks coming up. The Anaheim Ducks, I think we all agree, are a very good hockey team. And they're playing again tonight, and the Sharks have already beaten them twice this season. Let's not. I guess my point is let's not forget about the Sharks. They're still an interesting team. They're a team that could still easily finish in the top 7 in the NHL. They have just enough offense and playing just well enough defensively. I think they're in the top 10 in defense and the top 12 in scoring. Maybe the other way around. But either way, I think they're still there now. The problem is that we with their history, we just don't think they're going to succeed in the postseason. And but I think you can't. To me, they're a playoff team. They're a solid team, and they're in. And if they get any luck, who knows?
Believe me, go ahead, Jack.
Go ahead, Mike.
Believe me, I won't forget the San Jose Sharks. I just will remember them when it comes to playoff fantasy hockey pool time because I've drafted them 3 years in a row, and I will never draft another San Jose Shark again.
Yeah, but I mean, no, that's for sure. But they're way too talented. They're way. I mean, and they still have that blend that I like the blend of having, from veterans to role players to good young players on rookie contracts. They've got that. They've got that blend that teams need to win in the playoffs. They don't necessarily have the goalie to do it, but maybe there's something there. Maybe they make another. I mean, and maybe their backup who's been playing really well, he could be the guy. We haven't seen him yet in the playoffs, really. I mean, we saw a little bit of him, but I think that you're absolutely right, Kev. I mean, it's really they are forgotten about, and I'm glad you brought him up because I was. It was really cool. Someone said 9-1 the other day. Just over the weekend, I heard 9-1 or 8-1, and I was just kind of shocked. I'm like, wow, that is pretty crazy that they won 5 in a row.
Well, what's even crazier, and it speaks to really how crazy the West is. They went 9-1, and they gained 2 points on Anaheim.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, Anaheim, despite the mumps and their injury issues, they've gone 8-2 in their last 10.
Yeah, and the Blackhawks are 8-1 in their last 10. So I mean, everybody is.
The West is crazy. It just really is.
And Anaheim did that. Anaheim did that with a 5-game Eastern Road swing, right in the middle of it. So yeah, it's very impressive.
No, they've really been impressive. You got anything else, Josh? Before we go?
Actually, 2 things I want to bring up. Number one, in Vancouver. I mean, first of all, I should point out Claude Noel did not. Obviously, last very long this year, or it wasn't this year, it was last year in Winnipeg. But how about this? He's 6-0 since taking over the Vancouver Giants.
Yeah, there you go.
Didn't know if you guys knew that.
Great organization.
Another thing I wanted to bring up with you guys is, and this is a guy I think that should be talked about and someone we should talk about. I mean, he kind of fell off the radar the last couple of years. He was a #1 overall draft pick. and he's kind of rediscovered his game in Colorado, and that's Eric Johnson. I mean, the numbers this guy, again, this year is already putting up. I mean, looking at the stats here, I have him in the last 4 games. He's got 3 goals. Oh no, I'm looking. That's Louis Eriksson, who's actually doing really well as well. But Eric Johnson's got 4 goals in the last 3 games, 4 goals and 1 assist. And this is a guy that when he was traded to Colorado from St. Louis, a lot of people felt that he was going to be a bust. And all of a sudden, under Patrick Waugh, I mean, he's unbelievable, and right now he's in contention, I think, for the Norris.
Yeah, but Colorado's still one of the worst defensive teams in the league, and it's not to diminish Eric Johnson's accomplishments, but it's Eric Johnson and Barry and pretty much nobody else. So that team, like we talked about on Friday, they're going to need to add some defensemen either during the year before the trade deadline or over the summer, because I just don't think that continuing to go with a front-heavy group and nobody on the blue line other than Johnson and Barry is going to work for that team.
Yeah, I would go with that. And
Johnson's been good for a couple of seasons now. I mean, he was talked about a lot for the U.S. Olympic team. It just, his game, he wasn't strong enough offensively to grab one of those positions. The U.S. had a lot of guys that can move the puck. And they just didn't need what he could offer. But he was pretty well appreciated by the selection committee. If everyone remembers that, I was embedded with them and was able to watch all that. And I remember Paul Holmgren in particular speaking highly of him, and talked about what he can do. The key for Johnson has always been conditioning. Now it appears he is committed to a higher level of conditioning. And because of that, I think he's been able to reach his potential. But he always had that ability. I mean, at 17 and 18, he was a dominant player at his age group, and he was drafted where he was because everyone thought he was going to be a defenseman, and now he is. I mean, he's a difference maker. Maybe still not quite as dominant as they had hoped he would be, but still a top performer in the league. And if they played the Olympics next season, he would probably be in the mix to be in that top 6.
Yeah, he's got 8 goals already this year. And speaking of Johnson, another Johnson, Jack Johnson's even finally putting up some pretty decent numbers as well.
Yeah, he's yep. Go ahead, Mike.
Two quick things. Over the weekend, Damian Cox of Sportsnet reported that recently fired Oilers coach Dallas Eakins will probably end up back in the Toronto organization. Didn't give a timeline for that, but Eakins coached the Marlies and was an assistant coach with the Leafs and was part of their player personnel department for over 6 or 7 years that he was with Toronto. So I could see the possibility of him coming back to the Leaf organization. And the other thing is it'll be interesting to see what discipline the NHL doles out on Matt Bartkowski for his hit on Brian Giunta yesterday. Giunta was helicoptered by him, and it was I don't think it was a brutal hit, but the NHL seems to when it's a spectacular viewing like it was with that hit, they're probably going to throw a couple or 3 games at least at.
Actually, I have an update on that, guys. The NHL player safety actually tweeted out before our show started that Bartkowski and Giunta is an example of incidental head contact on an otherwise full body check. The head is not the main point of contact. Also, Giunta puts himself in a vulnerable position, making contact with his head unavoidable. Bartkowski neither extends upward nor does he pick the head. So judging by those comments, I don't think there is going to be a suspension.
Well,
I heard there wasn't going to be, and I think all that's true. And Bartkowski's also not named Steve Downey, so there you go. No, I'm just throwing that. That's just a joke. But no, I think Bartkowski is no. I heard there was going to be nothing as well. But this is definitely one of those conspiracy theorist ones where you could make an argument that this is a guy who just because he's getting away with this a little. But I mean, it was very hard to tell. But that was the initial that I heard this morning, too, is that there was going to be nothing. That's all the time we have for today. We'll be back again tomorrow. Same hockey time, same hockey channel. Remember, without the buzz, it is just hockey. Talk to you then.